you ever catch wind of the conversation that I had about you while I was on acid in this one vlog?
Jesus Christ, no. How did I miss that?
Yeah,
I got some homework to do.
The key quote was Jurassic Park was a vlog about dinosaurs.
That's brilliant.
I was fried.
That's poetry.
And I said that. And then I look at the camera and I said something along the lines of, when you think about it, Casey Neistat's just a really amateur dinosaur vlogger.
Yeah, look, I think, Adam, there's a lot of truth to that. I'm an amateur aspirational dinosaur vlogger.
No, he hasn't even introduced the dinosaurs to the vlog yet.
They're just, coming soon. Coming soon.
But the idea that in my head I was like seeing the world of content to be so expansive that there was no line between movies and vlogs, and like they seemed like they're exactly the same thing. And a lot of ways, for a lot of intents and purposes, they basically are.
I just like that your acid brain, somehow I was able to poke my head in there along with Jurassic Park. That is a legacy.
Well, let me tell you, doing a vlog on acid is not easy. I was lucky that I had somebody to film me, because I definitely would have stopped filming immediately.
I have a rule, like no social media after like 3 drinks. Like you just got to put that shit away, because you wake up the next morning just full of regret. It makes so much sense. It's so funny when you're, and then you just got to put that shit away.
I remember one time I got like not knocked out fully, but like certainly concussed in a bar fight, and this is over 10 years ago, but like, and I was tweeting, and like the next morning I'm like, why the fuck didn't you guys take my phone away from me?
How dare you?
You
call
saw
yourself
what was
friends.
happening.
About Jurassic Park and vlogging though, like I had these sort of grandiose visions when I really got into vlogging, where I would like really intellectualize what I was doing, other people in the space were doing, which was like, this was at like 2015, 2016, like peak Kardashians. And for me, what I saw the opportunity in vlogging as is like the truest form of reality TV.
Right.
And maybe it's sort of leveled off, like it's plateaued as a version of that now, but you know how a show like the Kardashians or Survivor is produced.
Right.
You know, like between Kim Kardashian's reality and then what the audience sees is like a million layers.
Yes.
Producers, directors, setting up shots, getting it perfect, not liking this, editing that, curating exactly how this individual's life is portrayed. And I think the romantic idea about vlogging, the reason why like I'm so enthusiastic and always will be about YouTube, is that it removes all of those filters. Like what you're seeing is the truest version of someone's life. You were talking about Fusi and like watching him share his struggles with mental health. Like it got weird at times and fucked up at times, but like there was some truth to that.
It really helped sort of define what this platform was going to be and how it was going to be used. If you can be a vlogger who cries into the camera, you might see somebody on the Kardashians cry, but you're not going to see them cry to the camera. That relationship right there of Fusi being willing to do that. And yes, it takes somebody who's a bit unhinged, maybe unstable, whatever he was going through in his life, but it takes that person to break down that wall.
I met a kid once, and this is when Fusi was at his peak and I was at my peak, and I met a kid and he's like, "You're the only YouTuber I watch, you and FusiTube." And I was like, "Tell me what it is. What do you like about Yusef's content? What do you see in that?" And he goes, it's nice to know that other people struggle with the same things I struggle with. And up until that point, I dismissed his content. Like, it's like, no, this is just sort of sensationalist bullshit. But hearing that from some kid who had, no hat in the game at all, made me appreciate the need for like all these different perspectives that YouTube has enabled.
Yeah. There was something about when I first saw Tana that I was like, oh, like she is that center of confidence that all these little girls want. Because all these little girls are insecure and they all feel bad about themselves and they don't have the confidence to just be a strong, powerful woman. And here you have Tana and she's like 19 and yeah, maybe she's all fucked up and she has the will to talk about that, but she's really loud and proud about being a mess.
Yeah, and I think that, Tana,
I should have worn my TanaCon shirt.
Tana embodies the like DGAF in a way that I don't know, any girl had ever embodied on YouTube before.
Right.
And that like I don't give a fuck attitude I think is important because it's easy to dismiss, but I think that there's some truth behind that, which is like it's always okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to share aspects of your life even though you're going to be criticized for them.
Right.
I just remember like one of the first times I ever met my now wife, Candace, like she was telling me things that were so personal and so gnarly. And I just remember sitting there across from her and being like, why are you telling me this? Don't you know that like, there's no way that I can't not judge you for what you're telling me? Like there's no, and then like I left that first time we ever hung out and I was like, Jesus, and I couldn't stop thinking about her because it was like, then you're able to, you don't truly understand somebody unless you know the full picture.
Right.
And I was raised in like a conservative family, not politically conservative, but an uptight family in Connecticut. And like my mother is the quintessential, like everything's perfect all the time. If you're struggling, you fucking hide that shit. If you've got problems, you hide that shit. You put on a smiling face. How are you doing today? I'm doing great.
Right.
Doesn't matter. And I think that is like, could not be more wrong. Could not be more far off. And I learned that from my wife that like, you've got to be vulnerable. You've got to really share who you are. Otherwise people will have no idea who the real you is. And I think that there have been a handful of people on YouTube, whether by design or just by accident, that have really demonstrated that in ways that have sort of changed the conversation.
Do you feel sometimes, and this is how I feel, is that I was always a person who would just gladly rattle off my narrative of whatever the fuck I was working on, whatever was going on in my head. Now I feel like my narrative, like I have this insecurity that it's not relatable enough. I don't want to just talk to random people about all these interviews I'm doing, all these famous people that I've been talking to that I know and stuff. It just feels like my life experience used to be sort of relatable. Like when you're trying to start your business, trying to get it off the ground, or you're just being a regular guy, it's like kind of easy. I meet people all the time who will just sort of lay it on you and just tell you all about whatever the fuck they were doing this week. And I'm sitting there thinking like, this motherfucker is really telling me about what it's like to work in this shoe store. And I'm like, he's telling me all about it. My life is so much more interesting than this dude's life, but I'm not volunteering anything. Like, when did the switch happen for me?
Yeah. I mean, I get really insecure. You know, I think we all, as like human beings, there's like a moment in our life that is the most defining moment in anyone's life. And there's like an arrested development that takes place. Like you never mature past that. And for me, it was like, you know, I ran away from home when I was 15. I had a kid when I got like my girlfriend pregnant when I was 16. I had a kid when I was 17. And my parents didn't have any money or anything. I had no one to help me. And I was on welfare and collecting food stamps and making $8 an hour under the table to try to support my family living in a fucking trailer park. And that was like 2 years. That was 2 years before I sort of got out of that and moved to New York City. I will never not be that guy. I will always be like the 18-year-old kid who everybody looks at as like a loser and has no money and is just trying to like make ends meet. I'll always be that person. So now when I like, you know, get to fly first class, or like, you know, last week I was flown to Abu Dhabi to go to the F1 race, and like I make videos about it and stuff. I put it out there without much thought, and then like I get criticized, like, you know, same things you're saying, like that's not relatable. Like you get to live this wild life. And there's a part of me that's like, what are you talking about? I'm just like a poor kid who lives in a trailer park, and I got really lucky and I get to do this.
Yeah.
But to expect the audience to understand that, I think is a short-sightedness on my part. Like there's an obligation to explain and get them to relate. And yeah, I feel like I'm losing that as I take for granted. Like, don't you know I'm just like you?
Yeah.
And look, maybe I'm not. Like
Yeah.
maybe I'm, and it's fucking weird.
I'll meet somebody's grandfather, and they never shut up. They just talk about their life all the fucking time. And I'm like, that right there, the way you are, like I'm thinking about it as a YouTuber, and I'm thinking like, that thing that you have where you just never shut up about your life is an invaluable thing to have as a content creator. Like when you listen to like a really good like radio dude who just rambles about politics, that in itself is its own skill. If you can gather on about politics for hours and hours and hours and not just hit a wall and say like, you know, for me, like I enjoy talking about politics too, but it's like at some point, like I feel like I have an efficiency towards talking about it. If you could just blabber, like that's a real skill.
Well, I mean, like you talk about like Joe Rogan. I think Joe Rogan's superpower is that he can have a million different versions of the same conversation with a million different people, and it's interesting every single time. Like that is his greatest gift.
Yeah.
And I don't think we all have that. And I feel like I maybe had a part of that, and I definitely feel like I've lost touch with that. Like I'm now, like you were saying, like you don't know if you should say these things, people aren't going to relate. Like I've also gotten really like uncomfortable talking about aspects of my life, or talking about my interests, or talking about because like, are you going to relate to this? Or are you going to judge me for this? Like,
and you know too much, which is
it's a liability.
It's a big part of the problem because a lot of people like if you listen to stand up, a lot of stand up is really just people basically admitting that they're stupid, because it's like if you go on stage and you say like, you know, like, what's up with this? Like, what's up with the fucking trash truck? Why does it do this? Why don't they come at this time? It's like, if you work for the city, all of a sudden it's not funny. You can't tell that joke because it's like, you know why it happened like that.
It's
you know,
not interesting.
People who kind of know about celebrities and can go on stage and say, what's up? I heard this celebrity did this and this stupid thing that I saw in the news the other day. But if you work for TMZ and you know every last detail of this, it's a lot harder to be funny. And that's kind of a problem about a lot of stuff in general as you get older, is that the more you know about stuff, the harder it is to just sort of have these just fly on the wall ridiculous conversations. Like it becomes a little too academic once you really know shit.
Yeah, I think that's the double-edged sword of maturity.
Yes.
It's like that amazing Joe Rogan bit where he's like talking about the sun is this thing that's in the sky that we need to live. If without it we die, but if you look at it, it'll make you go blind.
Yeah.
And it's just like so silly and relatable. But if you were to have like an astrophysicist, Neil deGrasse Tyson, talk about it, he'd be able to explain it in scientific terms. It's just not interesting.
And bore everyone in the
Yeah,
audience.
it's not funny. I don't give a shit. I want to hear Joe Rogan make fun of it. It's fucking hysterical and relatable because I know nothing about the sun.
NoJumper.com. Like, comment, subscribe. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you want one of these, you know where to go. And then No Jumper Facebook too. Link is down in the description. Some good stuff going on over there. Appreciate y'all watching this.